Yeah.
The American people don't know what's going on in this country.
The enemy's public.
The country is going to hell.
The enemy's public.
It ain't black people sending it there. There is no mystery God. Absolutely no mystery God.
You are the future, and we are depending on you to unite to overcome your differences and organize a system under the set of principles that the original people of this planet follow.
The enemy's public.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Get your copy of Fire. It's definitely a must-read. If you enjoy hood books, this one is it. Just like the title of the book, it's officially Fire. Get it on Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
Peace. This is the enemy's public. I am Bro.Nasir. I hope everyone is enjoying their Sunday morning. I decided to go live early to do what I do. Yet, police across America make it easy. I wish I didn't have to do this. I'm hoping that there will become, a day that I wouldn't be able to do this. Yet, police all across America, government officials, those who are in the official capacity or law enforcement or lawmakers, executive office of the United States, make it real easy for me to do segments, episodes of Corrupt to the Core. That's why I subtitled it, Things Never Change. People want us to look at things and act like we're not seeing what we're seeing. We're not seeing the corruption. We're not seeing the abuse. They want us to look at it as if it's not going on. It can be right in our face. And you have those who support the police no matter what they do. They support them and they'll make excuses for them no matter what they do. There's never been a time for excuses for those who walk around with their chest out like they're heroes, yet never display any heroism, wanting people to capitulate and comply with them, obey them. That's why I'm not going to say time's out for that, though it is, but there's never a time for people who are paid with tax dollars to disrespect the taxpayers, wanting compliance absent a crime. So we're going to get right into it. I'm not going to play any music today. We're going to get right into it. Share my screen. Corrupt to the core. Things never change. Police interaction. It's about corruption in its inception. From the beginning, the United States have always been corrupt. Corrupt to the core. And things have never changed.
I have some very sad news for all of you, and that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
Robert Kennedy made that stunning announcement, followed by a beautiful impromptu speech as he campaigned for president.
This video is courtesy of Elephants in the Room. Fair use, fair use.
President in 1968. His words are memorialized by this sculpture of the two men reaching out to one another. And exactly 2 months later, RFK himself would be assassinated. But what no one in the audience knew, and what few people in the world knew, was that Kennedy had previously approved a massive surveillance campaign against Martin Luther King.
Now, this exposes the corruption of Robert F. Kennedy. And the fruit don't fall far from the tree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You know, he acted like he was anti-establishment concerning, you know, the COVID-19 vaccines or what have you. But as soon as he got an opportunity to work with those who were pushing it, he jumped right on it. Being no expert of science and medicine, just had a big mouth, just talked, being no expert. And some of our people rocked with him. I didn't, because I don't trust anybody in government because they haven't proven themselves trustworthy. So why would I trust them? But there was a secret war against MLK. Robert F. Kennedy aligned himself with Dr. King, but they were not friends or comrades. They were not. See, we need to understand an alignment only mean to be seen with, to give the appearance that you are sharing the sentiment of that person or persons. It doesn't make you a comrade.
colleagues. And as information from those tapes continue to come out, the FBI documents, the most shocking charge is that King himself looked on and encouraged another preacher as he raped a woman in a hotel room. And if you think politics today is extreme, you're going to be blown away by how this story unfolds between King and the FBI. I'm talking communist spies, break-ins, murder, orgies, and the US government actually trying to get Martin Luther King to kill himself. It's wild. What I learned is disturbing on a number of levels. So why on earth did the Kennedy administration wiretap and follow Martin Luther King and his associates? After all, the Kennedys were solid supporters of civil rights, and publicly they supported King himself. It all started with the fight against communism. And it's important to understand.
Publicly, they aligned themselves, but it's obvious that they didn't support Dr. King in his efforts. And there were, as the Attorney General of the United States, which was the position Robert F. Kennedy was in at this time, he approved the wiretaps for Dr. King's, traveling wherever he was doing. He approved wiretaps to be put on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Understand the times as well as the power and role of the FBI, when the most effective law enforcement machines anywhere. The FBI pioneered things like fingerprinting, forensic science, and criminal profiling. It set a gold standard in solving crime.
Back then, and to this day, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, they used artificial intelligence, not AI that we know today, meaning, when I say artificial intelligence, meaning most of their intelligence was artificial and manufactured. They were doing a lot of illegal tactics, and they were breaking a lot of laws to get their desired results. If you go down the rabbit hole of the FBI, you'll find a whole lot of corruption in the United States government, especially under J. Edgar Hoover. But those who took over conducted business as usual.
And you can't really separate the FBI from Hoover himself. He took over the agency when he was just 29 years old, and he ruled it for 48 years until he died in 1972. And during much of that time, America was in the midst of the Cold War with the Soviet Union. And they were a formidable adversary. That fight was at the heart of the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the world has never come closer to nuclear war than the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. The threat was real, and communists infiltrated the US government and cultural spheres, from spies to Hollywood influencers. Hoover's crusade against communism was important for the country's national security, although we'll see at times it veered into the realm of obsession and corruption. The FBI collected an enormous amount of surveillance on enemies, as well as on politicians and other powerful power as FBI director. Everyone, including presidents, were fearful of being targeted by Hoover. One of those targets was this man, Stanley Levison, a lawyer from New York and also one of the Communist Party's top financiers in the 1950s. The Communist Party was somewhat influential in the United States during the 1930s, although that lessened as the Cold War with the Soviets heated up in the 50s. Levison publicly supported the party at first, but in 1956 started hiding his involvement. That was also the same year he met a young Martin Luther King and became one of his closest friends and advisors. Levison negotiated business deals for King. He prepared his tax returns. He even co-wrote a draft of King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech. In 1962, when the Kennedys learned of that relationship and Levison's past, they sent King, who'd now become a national leader, numerous warnings through various messengers. When King rebuffed them all, Robert Kennedy, as Attorney General, approved the FBI wiretapping of Levison's office. Later that year, when King was employing another man with ties to communists, the Kennedy administration freaked out a little bit more and stepped up the surveillance. And finally, when a wiretap picked up King referring to Levison as his friend and saying that he'd resume connections once things cooled off, that pushed the Kennedys into wiretapping King's home and office. Now, ironically, throughout all of the wiretappings and informants and everything else, there's absolutely nothing to imply that King sympathized with communists. It was the opposite. He called it an alien philosophy contrary to the civil rights movement. But soon, the FBI wouldn't be focusing on communist ties anymore. They'd be focusing on sex. The Bureau expanded its electronic surveillance to King's hotel rooms on the road and had at least 2 of his employees working as paid informants. They tracked his flights and they monitored his associates. And they learned about a lot of sex. Now, King was married and a reverend, but the FBI records show numerous recordings of him having affairs, multiple sex partners, and even taking part in orgies. As this surveillance continued, Hoover's personal feelings towards King grew into hatred, and the FBI's role changed from gathering information to discrediting and harassing King. That campaign was part of a broader one called COINTELPRO, which targeted people and groups the FBI considered a threat to national security. Some of the Bureau's activity was clearly illegal, and they were working to infiltrate, discredit, and disrupt political organizations inside the United States. These included the Communist Party, the KKK, the Black Panther Party, and others. The FBI would sow discord in the groups through psychological warfare, spreading misinformation, creating fake documents, or sending anonymous letters to get people paranoid.
The same thing that they do today. Things have never changed with these government offices, these executive branch offices. Things haven't changed. They still use the same tactics to this very moment.
Use legal means sometimes. Sometimes they sparked IRS audits. Sometimes they did petty things like setting off fire alarms. The Bureau also likely arranged the killing of Fred Hampton, a Black Panther leader, as well as another Panther. An FBI informant had actually drugged Hampton the night before a planned raid. Police fired over 100 rounds, and Hampton was close range in his bed. Now, with Dr. King, the Bureau's goal was to expose and ruin him. And the sex tapes were what they used was a suicide one. The letter had been sent by Assistant FBI Director William Sullivan, who headed the campaign against King within the Bureau. He sent a best-of audio tape of King's sexual activities and included a letter as if it was from a disillusioned Black supporter. It told King to listen to his adulterous acts and sex orgies and evil playmates, then suggested that he should kill himself by Christmas or the information would be leaked. Now, for many years, all of this stayed secret. The FBI had tried to plant stories on King's behavior in newspapers, but none of them took the bait. It was a different time then, and things like that just didn't get reported, which was fortunate for both King and the Kennedys. And as crazy as all this seems, here's where the story takes another bizarre turn. On March 8th, 1971, Muhammad Ali faced off against Joe Frazier. They called it the fight of the century, and it was truly one of the biggest events in sports history. Pretty much everyone was watching or listening to it, which is why a group of 8 activists...
This is what they do to distract us. Now, I love Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Stevie Wonder, all the people who I support in entertainment. But this is what they do to distract us while they're doing their evil deeds. They use weapons of mass distraction while we're being entertained. These people are constantly thinking of evil things to do to the people, not just our people, which is my main focal point, but the people in general, to all people. But my focal point is my people because I'm part of my people. So that's my focal point. Yet they want to keep us entertained while they plan. They have think tanks. While we're sleeping, after being entertained, high and drunk out of our mind, this is what the FBI and all these other alphabet boys are doing. They're planning. See, we fail to plan, so we plan to fail. But these people are, while we're sleeping, they're constantly planning ahead. In the event that we counter their intelligence and they see that we are making strides, they want to counter our intelligence, which is what COINTELPRO is to those who don't understand it and use the words without understanding what it is.
Chose that night to break into a small 2-man FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania.
In other news, the FBI is reported preparing to shut down some of the 500 small agencies it maintains around the country because of security reasons. Last month, more than 1,000 documents were stolen from the FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania.
They called themselves the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI, and they rightly believed the Bureau was overstepping its bounds and infringing on American citizens' rights. The burglars, who were never caught or punished, although they did come out later, stole over 1,000 classified documents, and their gamble paid off. They actually found documents that exposed COINTELPRO. They mailed them to news outlets, but only one of them, the Washington Post, verified them and eventually ran a front page story. It set off a national scandal. This wasn't just an overreach by the FBI. It was evidence that the government was willing to shred the Constitution in the name of national security.
And this is exactly what they do today. Not only shredding the Constitution under the guise of national security, they are actually taking the Constitution, emphasis on the con, and wiping the ass with it, the Constitution of the United States. Today, we are living in a lawless, I'm going to say this, a more lawless society than we've ever lived in. The only thing that's different is that we have less assassinations than we did back then. By gun, straight up shooting somebody. But there's assassinations going on. They're doing it other ways. Yet the government of the United States have always been corrupt. And they're more corrupt today. It's just that a lot of the people are more hip to what's going on, and they can actually see because the people who are put in these positions are a lot dumber than the ones from back then. We can see it because they don't even know how to carry out false flags and carry out psychological operations. They're terrible at it today. When you have a commander and chief, which is a demander and thief like Donald Trump, who's have the intelligence of a used Q-tip. That's how intelligent Donald Trump is. He has the intelligence of a used Q-tip. This is the incompetence that you will get with someone like him. We're going to get to that shooting that happened the other day, which was a terrible, to me, I don't even think it happened.
The scandal helped kick off the Church Committee, a Senate task force that conducted extensive investigations into the intelligence activity of the FBI, CIA, and NSA. It led to some significant reforms and, ironically, led to the discovery and exposure of many recordings of Martin Luther King. In 1977, U.S. District Judge John Lewis Smith ordered that all electronic surveillance of King be taken out of the FBI's hands and given to the National Archives. It was to be sealed and then made public after 50 years. But King's sexual encounters didn't come to light because of the FBI, but because of his best friend, Reverend Ralph Abernathy. By all accounts, Abernathy was King's closest confidant and the man he named as his successor. Yet in his 1989...
See, all this stuff is branch knowledge and stuff that I've known for 40 years. See, a lot of people, in particular white people, they go around discovering stuff. The reason why they discovered it, because it was covered. You can't discover unless something is actually covered. Yet I've known this for at least 40 years, that Ralph Abernathy was a Judas to, and Reverend Cowles was a Judas to Dr. King. Jesse Jackson was a Judas to Dr. King. They scream his name out loud. They were screaming his name out loud, but those were Judases to Dr. King. When Dr. King started getting away from Negro business, integrating a lunch counter or a hotel, he started doing worldwide stuff. That's when they considered him a troublemaker, because Dr. King was actually getting on code with the people and off code with Negro business in churches.
book, and the walls came tumbling down. Abernathy gave a sobering account of King's final night before being assassinated. He wrote that King was intimate with 2 different women that night, and then a jealous third woman came by in the morning, and an argument escalated into an assault. Abernathy wrote that King knocked her across the bed, and for a moment they were in a full-blown fight, with Martin clearly winning. Civil rights leaders went hard after Abernathy, but he never backed down. Now, I couldn't find an electronic version of this book anywhere on the internet, so I did take...
It's amazing what people would do for a paycheck. It's amazing what people would do for a paycheck. And it's amazing what people would say when somebody put a mic and a camera in their face. It's amazing. I will only hold my people accountable because I expect loyalty from my people. So my people are the only people I will hold accountable when it comes to dealing with us. It has to be self-accountability. We don't know how to say no comment when people ask questions about us. If somebody asks me a question about anybody that I know, how do you feel about this? I would say I would take that up with my brother or my sister. And I wouldn't throw that brother or sister under the bus to give the media multi-ethnic destruction in America or the news, never-ending white supremacy, a damn story for their sinking news store.
Take some pictures of those relevant pages, and I've linked to them down below. Later, tapes released of First Lady Jackie Kennedy after her death also contained some startling comments.
Then he told me of a tape that the FBI had of Martin Luther King when he was here for the Freedom March. And he said this with no bitterness or anything. How he was calling up all these girls and arranging for a party of men and women. I mean, sort of an orgy in the hotel and everything.
Martin Luther King?
Oh, yeah. Well, first he said, oh, and I said, oh, but Jack, that's so terrible. I mean, that man is, such a phony. You say that you're Martin Luther King without thinking, that man's terrible.
But you're...
See, these things have been going on ever since there was an executive office, a legislative office. These things go on. This is what all these people do. Yet I can't believe Jackie Kennedy and what she's saying, because Jackie Kennedy, I can't believe the government altogether when they say something about, see, our people would take this and run with it, because if white people say something in our sentiment, it has to be truth. See, I don't just take what my open and consistent enemies say about any of us and run with it. But you'll have some of our people, you see, he's this, he's that, or she's this and she's that. Our people would take this and run with it and discredit our brother and just totally dismiss everything he's ever done for our people. We don't understand what counterintelligence is. Counterintelligence is this right here. Not just the Negro who they pay to sell us out. Counterintelligence is also them hindering our progress. That's counterintelligence also. And anybody who would stand before us, if they are against what the government's agenda is, if they are standing and acting on behalf of our people and hindering a wicked government's agenda, they're going to put out negative propaganda against us. Our people don't see it like that. Why? Because we don't have knowledge of ourselves, and we don't have knowledge of others. A person or people who don't treat you right, not going to teach you right, and they're not going to inform you properly. They're going to take anybody who will stand and act on our behalf and make them the villain. like they do everybody else who they want to go after, because a agenda cannot be fulfilled. A agenda cannot be pursued without incident. They have to create this villain in order to, if they want what he has, let's say a whole lot of oil in Venezuela. Let's say if they want that oil, they have to put out that the president of Venezuela is selling drugs. I knew this from the beginning, and it's going to come out. Donald Trump constantly bombing boats in international water that everybody have access to, but when Venezuela come through there, automatically stereotyping them for selling drugs and bombing and killing somebody, trying to start a war so they can send troops over there to Venezuela. They don't have probable cause to do it now. He's trying to incite a war with Venezuela so they can send troops over there and take over the natural resources. Donald Trump is such a nitwit, he's not even good at propaganda. And I don't even think he cares. He's that, I'm going to take this from you and I'm going to use the United States soldiers. And he wants to overstretch his authority and send them to do unlawful things like he's doing in the United States. Like he's doing in the United States. And when you have generals and retired generals telling the soldiers that the soldiers don't have to comply with unlawful orders that's coming from the president, who's never been a part of the rank and file. I don't even think Donald Trump ever jogged in his life, not alone go through boot camp and graduate and become a soldier. He's never been through the rank and file, so he don't know what war is. He don't even know what law and order is. But he'll send young men and women to fight and be his goons inside the United States and all over the world. And when a general tell him, not him, tell the soldiers that they should disobey unlawful orders from anybody who gives them, he says it's treasonous. He say that the people who are giving these orders to the soldiers to not obey unlawful orders, they should be executed. And then he wants to bring a retired, he wants to return a retired general to active duty just so he could court-martial him. You can't do that. That man has to want to return to active duty. You just can't return someone to active duty because you want to punish them for telling the damn truth. That's the lawlessness of this country. Lawless.
Years later, as documents were released surrounding President Kennedy's assassination, some of the MLK records...
Peace to my brother Big Dog Philly OG. Peace to my sister Sharon Walker. Thanks for tapping in.
Evidently accidentally slipped into the National Archives website, and they sat there for 2 years. Enter a man named David Garrow. He's a serious writer and historian who's concentrated on the civil rights era. His 1986 book on King, Bearing the Cross, took him a decade to write and won the Pulitzer Prize. He's also written one of the most definitive biographies of President Obama. Garrow spent weeks pouring through tens of thousands of documents. Many were internal memos or summaries of the FBI tapes, and they were stunning. The FBI records from many of the wiretaps, interviews, and surveillance shows that they believed that King had been sexually involved with at least 40 women, including prostitutes. He had threesomes, foursomes, and more. When his wife, Coretta King, told her husband he wasn't fulfilling his marital responsibilities, FBI notes say that King told her she should go out and have some sexual affairs of her own. The FBI files also include allegations that famed baseball player Don Newcomb told the FBI that King had fathered a child with his relative, King's longtime girlfriend in Los Angeles. But the most shocking notes are the allegations of what happened in a hotel room in 1964. King and his colleagues were staying in the historic Willard Hotel in Washington, D.C., near the White House. The FBI placed transmitters and lamps in 2 of the rooms, and then set up surveillance teams with receivers and tape recorders in nearby rooms. In the second bugged room was Logan Kearse, a Baltimore pastor, civil rights leader, and King's friend. The FBI said that Kearse had brought to Washington several women parishioners of his church. The group met in his room and discussed which women among the parishioners would be suitable for natural or unnatural sex acts. When one of the women protested that she did not approve of this, the Baptist minister immediately and forcibly raped her. On that typed summary, Deputy Director Sullivan or one of his aides had added in handwriting that King looked on, laughed, and offered advice. Now, that's not a minor allegation. Critics have come out and said this proves nothing. These aren't audio tapes, they're not official transcripts, and they're just notes from an agency.
Exactly. They just typed notes and put them out, propagandized it. No audio, no video. Okay, they have taps. They tapped King's house. They didn't get none of that. They got none of that. No rapes, no sex. They got none of that on tape, on audio, and on video. They just when it came to the sex, the orgies, and all that, it's just a letter type saying that they did it. Our people need to think before we start accusing somebody something, or repeating something stupid.
That absolutely hated King. And that's a good point to consider. I've gone through hundreds of pages of those records, and they're pretty clearly internal documents, not something designed for public consumption. And Garrow makes the point that in the 1960s, no one in the FBI would have imagined that these notes would have ever seen the light of day. That doesn't prove they're correct, of course. But years later, they were reviewed again by the Bureau. According to Garrow, without question, Sullivan and his aides had both the microphone-transmitted tape recording and a subsequent full transcript at hand while they were annotating their existing typescript. In 1977, Justice Department's investigators would publicly attest to how their own review of both the tapes and the transcript showed them to be genuine and accurate. The FBI reports continued on to say that the next night at the Willard Hotel, King was part of an orgy with about a dozen people. Quote, when one of the women shied away from engaging in an unnatural act, King and several of the men discussed how she was to be taught and initiated in this respect. King told her that to perform such an act would, quote, help your soul. Now, an unnatural act can probably mean a whole lot of things, but according to FBI notes, quote, King announced that he preferred to perform.
Exactly, Sister Kelly Green. That's the first thing that they use when they want to take someone down, is they use, a scandal. The first thing, a scandal. That's what they use to try to take, in the attempt to take someone down. They use some type of scandal. Sometimes it works. It depends on whether or not the people believe it or not. See, we don't own the propaganda machine. They do. They can they could make you, and they could break you. Literally, they could make you. A lot of these people who are known to us, who are famous, who has accolades in whatever genre of entertainment they're in, they are made because of the propaganda machine. And when they get tired of you, or if you don't get with their program or stick with their program, they'll use that same propaganda machine that made you to break you. This is what they do. They've done it to everybody. Wacko Jacko, saying you're on drugs. And then when they finally kill you, they can say, well, he finally killed himself using the drugs. Or anybody else they seek to discredit with their propaganda machine. We need to understand this, that we cannot trust those who never had our best interests at heart to give us information and give us news. We can't trust them. You got to be mindful of those who come in to give you news. And you have to ask, why? Why are you coming to me with this? If somebody came to me out of nowhere with some information about somebody, I would be like, why are you coming to me with this? And then you ask them to tell you something about their self. I guarantee you they're not going to come to you with what they're doing behind closed doors. They're not going to come to you with that, but they'll come to you with somebody else's.
From unnatural acts on women, and that he had started the International Association for the Advancement of Eaters. Garrow wrote that anyone familiar with King's often bawdy sense of humor would not doubt that quotation. When Garrow wrote up these allegations in 2019, when Me Too was in full swing.
Salute to my brother, Smoke Signal, Hurricane JW. Peace. Thanks for joining.
The media reaction was, well, let's just say it was restrained. Multiple outlets rejected it. After it was published, most ignored it completely. Others made sure to pack in their stories with doubtful historians rather than seeking actual facts. The New York Times did that, and also dredged up a time when Garrow lost his temper and allegedly grabbed a woman's wrist 20 years beforehand. The paper even found a feminist to say that exposing King's female companions was sexist in and of itself. Ultimately, we should hear the whole truth in January of 2027.
Live and learn. Salute. Thanks for joining. Peace.
Isn't that far away? Those audio tapes are scheduled to be released in full. Given King's popularity, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a legal challenge somehow, but that's where things stand now. And to be clear, King's popularity is entirely justified. When I told a good friend of mine about the topic of this video, he was like, why would you want to do that? And it was a good question. I don't take pleasure in tearing down our heroes. None of us should. Of course, it also makes us ask, if these charges are true, should he be our hero? How do we evaluate flawed people? We've recently seen a reckoning with the flawed lives of many celebrated Americans. Statues and monuments to leaders and former presidents like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington were removed by governments or torn down by mobs, not for their political acts, but for what we now see as their personal moral shortcomings. Should Dr. King be put in that category? Should disgraceful private acts negate the public?
You know, it's crazy how a lot of these wicked, sex-crazed politicians would dig for dirt, or anybody would dig for dirt on someone else when they have dirt themselves. There is not one single clean politician, not one, Republican or Democrat, not one. But they'll dig for dirt and they'll propagate, especially during the campaign season. They'll find it, even if they have to make it up. They'll make it up, especially with, you know, today's artificial intelligence. They could have you saying and have you somewhere you've never been with AI today. So we have to be careful of what we get on our social media and talk about and present it as truth. Because if you wouldn't want that done to you, don't get on this social media and lie on people. Because you seen something, a video, or you seen some type of transcript about somebody. We're quick to do that, click on things. Why? Our people in particular, which is my main focal point, when we look at each other, we don't see the divinity in each other. We don't see that. We see each other through the eyes of our enemy. That's how we see each other. We don't look at our brothers and our sisters as our brothers and our sisters. We'll rather find the dirt. Why? That's what we're used to seeing. The dirt. We love the dirt. We love wallowing in filth as a people. Why? It's because who taught us or who's been teaching us? You can deny that we was taught this. And if you wasn't taught this, you're saying it's natural? Because I know it's not natural. But a man who don't treat you right will never teach you right.
Good that someone's done. Maybe the real takeaway here is that even our most admired heroes are imperfect human beings. Despite their failings, the founding fathers, including Dr. King, dedicated themselves to building a better world, and that seems worth celebrating. I'm Ken LaCourte. I do my best here to give you a balanced overview of things and to look at some delicate subjects. If I screw up, I'll post corrections in a pinned post. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and until next time.
And we're going to stay consistent with corrupt to the core. Things will never change. We're going to stay consistent with it. This is in New Carolina news. I don't know if
I
it's
appreciate everybody for coming out. Let me just get all my stuff together so I'm ready to go. All right, y'all good? Good to go? All right. The reason I asked you to come out today, first thing I want to do for y'all is review the mission statement, the current mission statement of the Sheriff's Office. And this is something that may change in the near future. It will change in the near future, but it just simply says this. It says the mission of the Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office is to provide every person, regardless of race, creed, color, sex, age, national origin, or other characteristic, whether resident, visitor, or traveler, the best law enforcement services and protection possible. During the campaign, I made a commitment to the people of Spartanburg County that we were going to bring back accountability to a different level. We were going to bring transparency to a different level. I have commonly said to you guys throughout the campaign that accountability, though, was heavily focused to myself simply because I had to restore faith in the people of Spartanburg County, in the office of the sheriff itself. I did not want to bring anything down from the men and the women that have been serving faithfully to this agency throughout what has taken place over the last year to year and a half. But at the same time, the men and the women that work here are an extension of me. They are deputy sheriffs, and they are held to a different level of accountability also because of what it is that we do. So it's just as important that we hold them to those same levels of accountability. The reason I'm asking you to be here today is because this morning it was brought to my attention that one of the deputies on a social media post last night made what would be easily considered a racially insensitive comment on social media. This was not brought to our attention by the public. This was brought that I want them rewritten in, and they are not going to have my name on them until our General Order 170 A lot of people want to say, unfortunately, that is not true. But it does say under 3A that conduct or unbecoming conduct, it says members of the sheriff's office shall conduct themselves at times both on and off duty in such a manner as to reflect most favorably on the office. Unbecoming conduct shall include that which brings the office into disrepute or reflects discredits upon the individual as a member of the sheriff's office, or that which impairs the operation or efficiency of this office or the individual. I met with every single solitary member of this office after I was sworn in on the 7th of November. I spent anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes with each member of this office, and I explained what my expectations were moving forward. And one of the expectations that I made very clear to them as we move forward, it's kind of something I've always called throughout this process of my deadly sins. And I've been very clear on this, that I expect officers to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to grow from mistakes. We're going to learn from mistakes, and we're going to move on. Many of those mistakes that happen are a greater reflection of us as supervision and how we need.
There's a difference from a mistake. You have training in the academy, and then you have FTO training, meaning that the officer, the rookie officer, is put with a field training officer to teach them patrols. Now, outside of that, if you're not taught right from wrong, if you don't know right from wrong, you shouldn't be in a position where you can affect people's lives. That's not a job for you. If you don't know how to deal with people alive, perhaps you should get a job at a funeral home. Yet don't desecrate the bodies, because some people are just evil, inherently evil. Now, sensitivity, being sensitive to other people's feelings, is not something that you have to be, you have to be taught. You have to have that naturally. And treating people how you want to be treated, it has to be something naturally. When you have police officers who intentionally, it's not a mistake, where you intentionally violate somebody's rights. If the person's not complying with you, you retaliate against them because they tell you what the laws are that you are oblivious to, but you are charged with enforcing. If you are a law enforcement officer and somebody called you about how they feel about something, you're supposed to tell that person it's not about how you feel. The law says he can do it. The law says she can do it. If you're in law enforcement, you enforce the law, not feelings. But a lot of these people want to enforce their feelings. They expect the police to enforce their feelings. Like if someone's out in public and they got a camera and you walk up to that camera, some people walk up to a camera and say, "Stop filming me," walking up to the camera. But if you expect privacy in public, stay your ass in the house, because you can't expect privacy in public.
Need to handle things because we may have failed them in some category, and it tells us of things that we need to correct to ensure that we're moving forward in a way that is most productive for the people of Spartanburg County. Because at the end of the day, collectively, our job is to serve the people of this county. But I basically told them there are 4 things that are my biggest deadly sins. Number 1 is never lie to me. If you lie to me, you will be terminated from this agency. Not only will you be terminated, you will lose your certification moving.
Police are taught to lie. He don't want the police lying to him, but he will encourage lying to people they encounter, the taxpayers. They can lie to taxpayers to get information out of them. Like going to someone and say, "Where's the drugs? You might as well tell me. Your boy already told me that you got the drugs." And there's no drugs in the equation at all. Trying to get you to confess to something that you haven't done. All because they want to affect and arrest. The worst thing that you can encounter in law enforcement, a bored cop or overzealous cop and a racist cop. And oftentimes, all those things, those categories is in one cop. Oftentimes.
Forward. The second part of that is never break the law. If you break the law, we cannot maintain your employment. You are expected to maintain the law because you are the one that is enforcing the law. The third one, and this is where we get into my issue today. Don't do anything that brings any ill repute on the agency. Don't do anything that brings any ill repute on the county of Spartanburg, and don't do anything that brings any ill repute on the state of South Carolina. Because what we do in uniform and the things and the choices that we make in uniform not only reflects on themselves, but it reflects on every man and woman that wears this uniform, not only here at the sheriff's office, but across the entire state in the United States. When things happen and they see this, it could happen in California and you see it in South Carolina, it gives you that reason to pass judgment of what law enforcement is as a whole, and that is not representative of the men and women. The men and women at this agency do a tremendous job, but sometimes they make really bad decisions. And then the last one is simply this: don't do anything that brings any ill repute, or excuse me, I apologize. Don't do anything that affects the people we serve. I made it very, very clear that the difference between a mistake and those four is those four are choices. And when you make those choices, you gave me no choice but to have to deal with that. As a result, we brought the deputy in this morning. We explained to him the seriousness of the violations that have taken place. I explained to him the violations of the current policy and the rules of conduct, and we did terminate employment with that officer this morning. I thought it was important, with my commitment to accountability and my commitment to transparency to the people in Spartanburg County, to be the ones that let you know this and not hear it to the grapevine. And that's why I've called you here today to explain what is taking place. In your packets, I'm not going into detail on what was said. You've got it in your packet. Pictures of what was put out there on social media. I'll let you handle that how y'all see fit on y'all's end. I'm not going to repeat what was said, but at this point in time, I will take any questions that you may have for me.
Into Fox 35 News Plus. This is Marion County Fire Rescue employees arrested after what they are calling a violent hazing incident. Let's go ahead and listen in.
For a hazing incident,
which is crazy because firefighters, that's one of the agencies that I revere because they do exercise some type of heroism. When everybody's trying to get out of the fire, out of the facility or building or house that's on fire, these guys are running in. Yet they're not 100% correct also. Though I revere firefighters, I know some real good brothers who are firefighters or who are retired firefighters who are good guys. Some of them are tainted and crooked as hell also.
Horribly wrong. Before I get into the specifics of the arrests and what the charges are, I want to start off with this. I want to make something abundantly clear, especially to the citizens of Marion County. Leadership in the County Fire Rescue is a cut above. Chief Banta, leadership, integrity, and in my values, the integrity, honesty, and trust is there. And that's the same for our county commissioners and our county government. What they believe in and what they stand for and what they will not tolerate. But unfortunately, we are here today because of these four firefighters who went a little bit too far with hazing. Disappointing, absolutely. As the son of a firefighter.
Said went a little too far with hazing. Hazing shouldn't be allowed in the most minute fashion. It should be outlawed altogether. If a person qualify for that job and they pass the test physically and mentally, psychologically, that's all it should take to do the job. Not that college fraternity bullshit, hazing, in order to fit in with people who are already on the team. If you do all it takes to pass and get the qualifications, if you qualify, that's all it should take, is to qualify.
Firefighter myself, it is disappointing. It's no different than myself when a deputy does something wrong and I have to arrest them as well. The 4 firefighters and the charges in which they are facing is kidnapping, robbery, battery, and accessory. It all began over grease being smeared on the victim and a pizza later in the afternoon, or during the shift, I should say, over a pizza, belongings, and it escalated from there. It also, the whole thing began because the 4 that arrested, or individuals at the firehouse, wanted a video from TikTok that the victim had. They chased him down in the parking lot. Once they caught him, they removed his pants from him, took his belt, then began to strike him on the backside with that belt. The victim refused to give up the phone. The phone was taken from him during this whole incident. Trying to gain access, these firefighters tried to get the password from him, in which he refused. During the process, they continued to escalate into these criminal acts. While they're trying to get into the phone, they took it even a little bit further. They removed his underwear and then again began to strike him on his backside, on his bare skin. Kidnapping comes when they took him and began to drag him through the parking lot, moving him from one location to another. And then at some point, one of them decided to go get, or someone mentioned, they decided to get a bottle of water and a towel and waterboard him, according to the victim, 3 times. During this whole incident, the victim fought and refused to cooperate and made it abundantly clear to each of them that this was outside.
You know, it's really weird to me that men will feel fit to unclothe another man in any circumstance. That's weird to me. To unclothe another man. That's weird. Now, I like to joke around, but those type of jokes are far, far, far removed in my thinking. What people love, I don't know, weird people love to make those type of jokes and innuendos. It's weird to me. To think that is funny, it's weird.
Of what he thought maybe could be perceived as something minor. And each of them should have known it. Unfortunately, they took it to this level. So I am going to turn it over at this point to Fire Chief Jamie Banta.
So good morning today, and thank you for being here. Today I want to address the arrest and termination of 4 first responders from our department. Their actions now.
Now, these guys are first responders, meaning that, they're emergency workers. Somebody's going under cardiac arrest or any type of injury, life-threatening injury. These are the guys, these four are the type of guys who's supposed to respond to do life-saving procedures for anyone who's in distress. Yet, this is what they do when they're not, quote unquote, saving lives. They are putting lives in danger. Absolutely crazy and weird.
The subject of serious felony charges represent a disturbing violation of everything that this profession stands for. What occurred was unacceptable, inexcusable, and fundamentally contrary to the core values of our fire department. Let me be absolutely clear. These individuals involved in this incident forfeited their right to wear the uniform the moment they chose an act and manner that endangered, harmed, and betrayed a fellow firefighter. Their behavior does not reflect who we are and what we stand for. To our community, I know this news is upsetting. I know it may cause some to question their trust in the department, but I ask you to remember that we have more than 800 firefighters who come to work every day with one mission: saving lives, protecting property, and protecting this community. They respond at all hours and all conditions and in most dangerous situations inimaginable. The misconduct of a few should not overshadow the honor, commitment, and sacrifice of the many. We hold ourselves to the highest standards, and when someone violates those standards, we take swift and decisive action, as you've seen here. Accountability is not optional. It is the foundation of public trust. Outside of the ongoing criminal case, we are reviewing the investigation completed by the Marion County Sheriff's Office, which may include the actions or inactions of others who may have been aware and or present during this incident. If additional policy violations are identified, further administrative actions will follow. We will not tolerate a culture or environment where misconduct can go unreported. Our priority moving forward is ensuring that every member of this department works in a safe, respectful, and professional environment. We will take steps to enforce our core values, strengthen our reporting systems, and ensure that all personnel understand that their duty not only to serve the public, but to support and protect each other. And to our firefighters, paramedics, EMTs out there doing the job each and every day, thank you. And to our community, we remain committed to earning and maintaining your trust. I'd also like to make a special thanks to Sheriff Woods and the entire Marion County Sheriff's Office team for the way they've handled this professionally and ensuring that the individuals are held accountable. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Zell.
Good morning. I want to start by acknowledging and thanking the swift, thorough, impartial work of the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Sheriff Woods, for your professionalism and your commitment to transparency through this process. From the moment this incident came to our attention, we worked side by side with the Sheriff's Office to get the facts. Their work has been exemplary, and our partnership continues to be essential. But let me be absolutely clear. From the Board of County Commissioners, what occurred is absolutely unacceptable. It's disappointing. It makes me sick to my very stomach. We are deeply troubled by the incident. And personally, we want to apologize to the community for the way, this comes across. For these reasons that none of us can understand, a small group of employees treated the firehouse like a frat house. The behavior is absolutely disgraceful, disrespectful, and it will simply not be tolerated, as you can see here by our fire chief and our sheriff. Our fire stations are not hangouts. They're not social clubs. They're professional environments paid for by the taxpayers for one purpose: to protect the people and the property of Marion County. And what makes this simply so disappointing is we rely on our firefighters to uphold that very highest standard of service and integrity. And just like us as elected officials, we take an oath to serve the citizens. Our firefighters as well take an oath to uphold the Constitution, obey the law, act professionally, protect lives and property, and serve their community and their fellow first responders with courage, discipline, and respect. The recent actions violated that very oath they took. They violated our policies. And more importantly, they violated the trust this community places in them and in us. So let me be clear. This is not about who we are. This is not who we are. This is not what we stand for. And we will not let it happen again. Our fire chief will make sure of it. We have initiated a comprehensive review along with Sheriff Woods to get to the very bottom. We are implementing additional standards and safeguards to strengthen our oversight, ensure every employee understands that professionalism is not an option. It is an actual requirement. And we will stop at nothing to root out the conduct that disrespects this county, undermines our mission, and jeopardizes the safety and dignity of our team. Marion County has zero tolerance for employees who batter and betray the trust of the people they serve. Zero tolerance for those who put their own impulses above their responsibilities. Zero tolerance for behavior that demeans the good.
Now, this is when criteria comes in. If they were allowed to even be within the rank and files, whether it's the police, fire, legislative, executive, if the criteria is that low, that you will have some of the people who we see in uniforms out on the streets doing a job that affects the very lives of people and can change someone's life with a decision based on personal feelings as opposed to working in the capacity of their profession. If that criteria is not high and you're just hiring anybody who walk off a damn cotton field, they pass the test, then I think we should just scrap the whole damn agency. And when someone pass a test, they should be tested. I think all these agencies should be tested quarterly, especially those who are dealing with case law, municipality, penal code, state law, federal law. Passing the test and being on the job is not enough. When you have First Amendment auditors knowing the law better than the cops, that's a travesty. Regular people with a phone or a camera going to police interactions and protecting the people as opposed to law enforcement. Regular people are protecting the people. That's a good thing. But when you have law enforcement, sergeants don't know the law. You have someone who will call for a supervisor and the supervisor will come there and back up the subordinate officer in his or her madness. That means that the entire agency is worthless. And I can't expect any type of justice from wicked people. They're incapable because justice is a reward or penalty. And people or taught their mannerisms, unless you go from the way your parents or teach you, unless you go from that as an adult, a lot of times people are taught the way they're going to be at home, and the indoctrination starts in kindergarten. Okay? Kindergarten is the area in the age where the people are kinder. They're kinder. And they're in the garden where the seeds are planted. Whether they're good seeds or bad seeds, the kinder is in the garden, and they're indoctrinated. They started right there, whether they're going to be a good person or a bad person, right there. And to be indoctrinated into falsehood all your life, starting in kindergarten, that's why we have the society we have today.
Good men and women who serve honorably every single day, every single call, every single shift. Above all, our responsibility is to this community we love. Every resident deserves the full confidence of the men and women when they call 911 and we send responders to them. Every employee has the right to a safe, respectful, and professional workplace. We will uphold these standards without compromise, as you see here today. We will hold ourselves and one another accountable as well. And we will work tirelessly to ensure that our trust and your trust is rebuilt, reaffirmed, and protected every call, every moment we get the opportunity to serve this great community. Thank you.
All right, I'll open up the floor for questions.
What's happening with the victim who come forward to file about this?
So the victim reported it to another individual, and then it went up to its appropriate chain of command, and then it got into our hands.
Sheriff and Fire Chief, if you'd like to answer as well. I mean, anyone who hears this story is going to have a reaction. What was your reaction when you learned this all started over something like a TikTok video, a pizza, and some grease on a shirt?
In my 30 years as a firefighter, this is the most egregious thing that I've seen been reported to me. And as fire chief, I was in shock and disgusted at the actions that was reported to me. On the afternoon of the 19th, my deputy chief reported to me the incident that was being reported up to him. We consulted the assistant county attorney immediately and immediately contacted the Marion County Sheriff's Office to start handling the cases. This went by far more than a hazing.
This should not be dismissed as firefighters horsing around, as a fraternity. This should be seen and treated as a criminal act. And these 4 Marion County firefighters who did this to this firefighter or firefighters should go to jail. They should be punished for this. So it shouldn't be seen as somebody just horsing around. No. If it affected the person and it did harm to that person, the appropriate punishment, whoever it is within the law, should be given to the perpetrators of these, infractions.
Which is absolutely condoned also.
Have they done this before, like hazing incidents with other firefighters or?
So we don't have any reports of discipline due to hazing. In the past, we've had incidents of one-on-one disagreements with individuals that we've had to handle. Any previous report of any type of hazing incident, we have not issued any discipline on due to it either was unfound or it wasn't specifically hazing. It was more of a one-on-one type of incident.
Can you share if the victim is still an employee at Fire Rescue, or is this just completely turned him off to the whole profession?
So as of now, the victim is an employee at Marion County Fire Rescue. He's diligent doing his job. He's been offered the ability to take some time, and which he's refused. His exact words were, he has a job to do and he needs
You said he made it clear that he didn't want any parts of this. What exactly did he tell them? Like,
I'm going to move on from this story. I think everybody in the listening audience got the gist of what's going on with this story. I'm going to move over to Broward County, where 6 Broward deputies was fired for being cowards, according to the sheriff.
Now at noon, the Broward's office announced 6 deputies have been fired in response to a triple murder in Tamarack. CBS News Miami's Joan Murray is live outside the sheriff's office near Fort Lauderdale. She has information on what else the sheriff had to say. Joan.
Well, Borough Sheriff Gregory Tony, very firm in his remarks. This is an investigation that has gone on for many months, but he said they wanted to scrutinize every detail to make sure they got it right. He says as head of this agency, he is accountable, but he did express disappointment at the actions of some of his deputies. Now, all 6 deputies have been terminated, and this is in addition to 2 prior. So this all goes back to that horrible incident that happened in Tamarack. We remember in February when Mary Gingles was murdered, her father and a neighbor. She had a very contentious relationship with her estranged husband, Nathan Gingles. Nathan Gingles was ultimately arrested and charged with 3 counts of murder. The sheriff said that on the night,
instead of the sheriff officers, the deputies responding to this incident, this shooting, the man went on a shooting spree, killing 3 people. They hid. The guys hid while the shooting was going on, but they are so chest out when it comes to someone who don't have a weapon. They're real tough when it comes to someone who are unarmed and unable to protect themselves against their tyranny. But when someone was actually committing a mass murder in a neighborhood, the Broward Sheriff's Department deputies hid. Absolutely crazy. Not surprising, though.
that this was investigated, mistakes were made. Let's take a listen to what Sheriff Gregory Tony had to say.
If anyone in this agency, this is to my troops, anyone carrying a badge and gun who think that's acceptable, you have the ability to resign today. This has nothing to do about protecting our own. We're here to protect the community first. And so there will be no rhetoric coming from this agency as to whether or not the disciplinary actions were appropriate. They have attorneys and they have an opportunity to go to arbitration. But this dies quietly in this agency, and people better saddle up and perform to make sure that doesn't happen again.
They said as sheriff's deputies that they hid for officers' safety. As someone who's supposed to be a hero out here to protect the people, protect and serve, they were more concerned about their safety, but they want to be seen as heroes. They were more concerned about their safety than to go and save the people who were being murdered right in front of them. They hid. They staged. They did a little small CompStat, and then they stayed there and hid until the man finished doing what he was doing to those people. This is the Broward County Sheriff Department in Florida.
Now, the head of the union representing all those deputies was here afterwards and said that he acknowledges that some mistakes were made in this investigation. However, he said that the union will be behind all of the deputies that have been terminated, and they will be fighting these terminations. Reporting near Fort Lauderdale at the Broward Sheriff's Office, Joan Murray, CBS News, Miami.
Now we're going to go to the same county where
right now we're learning more about.
We're going to go to the same county where the Broward Sheriff Officer Parkland chief was fired for providing false information, trying to set somebody up. That's what they do. You can't trust them.
With the Broward Sheriff's Office, Captain Craig Calavetta was put into his role in Parkland just last year, but has been fired. Local 10's Ian Margot live in Parkland with details on this. Ian.
Yeah, on Friday, the city of Parkland was told he was going to be relieved of his duties, and then yesterday he was officially terminated.
The man heading up the Broward Sheriff's Office in Parkland is now without a job after he was officially fired on Monday. Captain Craig Calavetta joined BSO in 1999 and worked his way up from road patrol deputy to executive officer of the Parkland district in 2021. But on Friday, Sheriff Gregory Toney called the city of Parkland to say Calavetta would be relieved of duty. When we asked for a comment from the sheriff, we were sent this statement that says, since 2019, my administration has worked diligently and relentlessly to earn the trust of our Parkland residents. The journey toward that trust required advanced training, enhanced investigative practices, policy reforms, as well as the procurement of essential tools and equipment. More importantly, it required accountability and transparency. I will not allow anyone in leadership to compromise the integrity of this office by deliberately providing false information to administration. But as for what false information Toney was talking about, BSO was unable to provide us any more details. We tried to speak with Calavetta on Tuesday to get his side of the story, but no one answered when we knocked at his home. In a statement, the city of Parkland said they expect BSO to provide 3 qualified candidates for them to interview to take over as a district chief, and until then, Major Amy Russo will temporarily fill the role.
So in that statement that the city of Parkland released, they also mentioned that they don't know what led to his being relieved of duty, his permanent replacement. Live in Parkland, I'm Ian Margot, Local 10 News.
Now, we
are getting some new information about a shooting.
Killed on the Thanksgiving Day shooting. His brother was arrested for it. I don't know what happened, but his brother was arrested for it.
Left a St. John the Baptist deputy dead, and his brother now behind bars in Wagaman. That victim has been identified as Shaquille Guerin. WDSU reporter Shay O'Connor is live with what we know about this investigation now underway, Shay, and how the sheriff is remembering such a dedicated deputy.
Good afternoon to you, Elizabeth. Yeah, we're here near 30 Marigold Lane in Avondale, or in West Wego right now, where we're told that shooting happened on the street. We're also told that it happened during a Thanksgiving family gathering. At this time, we do not know the circumstances surrounding the shooting, but it apparently happened at the street right behind where I'm standing right now, Elizabeth. Now, we've learned the deputy who died was 35-year-old Shaquille Guerin. He had been a deputy with the St. John Sheriff's Office for about 8 years. Sheriff Mike Trigg with St. John described Guerin as a hard worker and optimist. We're told he had just left work when he came into this area yesterday. We're also told the suspect is Darius Guerin. Officials say he led Jefferson Parish Sheriff's officers on a chase to Lafitte before he was eventually stopped and arrested. They say he had a gun on him at the time. Now, St. John Sheriff Mike Trigg says the entire department is hurting and remembering his life in good spirit.
Came work every day, tough job, but he did it. And, he was the eternal optimist. He always thought no matter what, the Saints would win the Super Bowl, even though we're not going to this year. But he remained positive in his professional life and his personal life. I'm gonna miss him. Trying to make all of this add up right now. To be killed in the line of duty is one thing, but to be killed by a family member, I just can't make that. I can't accept that right now.
Such a sad situation, Elizabeth. We're told that Guerin actually leaves behind a wife and 3 kids. Also, his family has a history of working in law enforcement, with his dad working with the St. James Sheriff's Office. I'll have much more on this at 4, 5, and 6. Reporting live from Jefferson Parish, Shay O'Connor, W.
We're staying at the Broward Sheriff's officers.
All right, and finally, for the first time, we are hearing from the team.
He was punched, slammed on the ground by a Broward sheriff officer. Take a look at this young man and tell me who he looked like. Now, it's in Florida, but tell me who this young man looked like, who was a victim of the Broward sheriff officers punching, you know, and punching and slamming him to the ground. But the young man's going to speak out.
At the center of that arrest, that video that has now gone viral. He was joined by his mother as well as well-known civil rights attorney Ben Crump. They sat down with me in an exclusive interview you will see only on 6.
My nose hurts a little bit.
For the first time since his video went viral, we're hearing from 15-year-old DeLuca Roll. He's the teen seen on the video being pepper sprayed, thrown on the ground, punched, and his head slammed on the pavement at a McDonald's parking lot in Tamarack last week.
It hurt. It hurt just as a parent. It hurt. It hurt. You know, and I try to block it and not think about it, sir. It hurt.
DeLuca's mother, Clintina Roll, is still heartbroken, talking about the pain as a parent seeing the video that has been viewed thousands of times. What stands out most in that video? When you look at that video, what stands out most to you?
It's when the officers take
Grown-ass men beating on a little boy is what stands out to me. Just beating on a little boy. And if that was my son, that cop will have to see me. I don't care about your profession or whatever capacity you're working in. You got to see me, period. You're going to have to do that to me. You got to put your hands up and fight me, period.
Take my child head. And he licked it down like he was nothing. He was a nobody. That's what really, like, that's somebody I bring in the world. That's somebody, you know, like he was nothing.
And for the first time, we're seeing this picture that Roll took of her son.
Looks a lot like Trayvon Martin to me. A whole lot like Trayvon Martin.
When she finally got a chance to see him, his nose swollen and scarred.
I take him for x-ray. And the doctor said, my son's nose is fractured. Not even I did it. You know, BS when everybody would have been by my house, even if I hit him. And to imagine they do that. I didn't expect that.
Attorney Ben Crump says more action needs to be taken against the 2 suspended deputies.
We are demanding from the state attorney that when they review that video thoroughly, all the crimes that were committed, that those individuals are charged with aggravated assault and battery.
Meanwhile, DeLuca is still hurting physically and emotionally, just wants to get back to being a teen.
I'm just trying to start thinking about it and then start focusing on school.
Is it hard?
A little bit.
A little bit. Crump and Roll will appear at an NAACP news conference tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, a protest rally is scheduled for Saturday, where the rough takedown took place in Tamarack.
Hi, I'm Shelly. Thank you for checking out our NBC6 South Florida YouTube channel. You want more videos like the kind you just watched? Click right here on the subscribe button below. Get the latest stories, interviews, caught on camera, and more. Digital exclusives as well, all for you. Subscribe now.
All over the country. All over.
Hello, everybody. David Schuster.
Yeah, that's a good question. My sister, a Navi poet. They got Crump because Crump is a ambulance chaser who's not necessarily going to, I don't know what their motives are, but if they want justice, they got to get a litigator that's going to file criminal charges and not necessarily wanting monetary damages seeked. Benjamin Crump is a ambulance chaser who's going to get them a lot of money for this case. You know, Crump is known, and people think they're doing the right thing by just going to him because of his notoriety as someone who goes out and get millions of dollars for people when they are abused by the police. But if you want real justice, again, justice is a reward or penalty. These police are on the penalty side of justice, so they should be punished for what they're doing. All this civil stuff, no, you can't civil. I mean, these people were acting uncivil, so they should be punished for it. Their ass should be locked up. Now, if there was my son, it wouldn't be it'd be a fight, a damn fight. No way you can do that to my child, and I see you, and I don't put my hands on you, and my feet on you, my elbows on you, my knees on you. No way.
ICE just threw him to the ground, breaking several ribs and injuring his arm, shoulder, and head.
I was begging him.
I agree, my sister. I agree.
I have
Couldn't win it without
condition.
Crump.
3 big people were sitting on my back, the way they tore me down, sitting on me, and I asked them to let me go, which they absolutely would not pay no attention. And they took me to a detention center.
Shuhad was detained at a federal detention center for nearly 12 hours before being released. At no point did ICE agents allow him to receive medical attention or treatment. This incident on September the 9th began when Shuhad saw...
They don't even respect elders. They could have killed this man by throwing him down to the ground like that. He's an elder, and they don't even care. Donald Trump is probably the same age as this man, and he's throwing him down to the ground, not even caring that he can be killed by doing it.
Agents storming into his car wash. That first agent, without a warrant or an explanation, knocked Shuhad to the floor. Shuhad got back up to try and show agents the paperwork proving that all of his employees were legally authorized to work there. When he went outside and saw ICE taking away a few of his employees, Shuhad got thrown down again.
He clotheslined the old man. Damn.
And while he was on the ground, injured, the ICE agents with their faces covered kept yelling at him.
You do not F with ICE. You do not F with ICE. You do not F with ICE. That's all they learn. I guess that's all the English they knew.
At a news conference with his lawyer announcing the civil rights lawsuit, Shuhad said that in addition to broken ribs, he suffered damage to his brain from his head smacking the pavement and deep bruises on his arm and shoulder, which he showed to reporters. Despite telling ICE agents he's an American citizen, he was still detained and taken away. After several hours, he says one of the ICE agents at the detention facility acknowledged that Shuhad should be released.
Though he agreed that I don't belong there, it took him 10, 11 hours to let me go home, to release me from there. And since they had no facilities to keep me over there, they put a handcuff on me, and the gentleman assigned me to one of the officers to take
the justice we want. We can't ask for. If we expect to go to our enemies, brothers, and ask them to do something about their behavior, it's never going to happen. The justice that we want, we're going to have to take care of. Well, it'll never happen. We'll have to serve that justice, or it will never happen. I don't agree with Professor Smalls today of what his stance on, what's going on with he and Tariq Nasheed, because he should have had that conversation with Tariq Nasheed instead of when somebody put a mic in your face. You're talking about the brother in his absence. I disagree with that. But what Professor Small said about what he would do if somebody killed his child, I strongly agree with that. I'm not going to cry. I may cry, but I'm not going to cry, meaning that's all I do. I'm going to bury my child, and I'm going to handle my business and seek justice for my child and not going to my enemy for it. You kill my child, guess what? It's going to be consequences. And the consequences won't come from somebody else. It'll come from me. That's mine.
Me to the garage down the stairs to keep me over there, keep an eye on me.
While Shuhan was in the garage and still handcuffed, he says he saw other people that ICE had detained and arrested that day,
Salute to McKim folk,
including
AJ
children.
the Lightning One.
In the time I was over there, I was observing all these people. They claim they are ICE people. What people they were bringing in with the trucks. Innocent little 11, 12, 13 years old little girls with the handcuff and the shackle on their foot. And I observed all these, believe me, innocent people.
After Shuhan was finally released, his lawsuit says he was taken by his family to a hospital where he finally received medical treatment. His civil rights claim accuses ICE of assault and battery and the intentional infliction of emotional distress. These masked agents' conduct was lawless, reckless, and cruel, his lawyer, James DeSimone, said. If this can happen in broad daylight to an American senior citizen who committed no crime, it can happen to anyone. This was not law enforcement. It was an assault on civil rights, and our democracy cannot survive if federal agents operate above the law. Since the incident, Mr. Shuhad continues to experience painful, shallow breathing and shortness of breath, especially with movement and at night, the claim said. These injuries and symptoms have impaired his daily activities and sleep, and he remains fearful of returning to work at the very location where he was injured. Both the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol maintains that Shuhad impeded the ICE operation and was arrested for interference. But no charges were ever brought, and the video contradicts the government's assertions about interference. Legal experts say the surveillance video was clear. Mr. Shuhad, at 79 years old, posed no physical threat. And under settled case law, the courts have ruled repeatedly that police and law enforcement can only use force if somebody is a threat to themselves, to bystanders, or to law enforcement. The video shows Mr. Shuhad was not a hazard or threat to anybody. He was trying to get ICE agents to pause, review his paperwork, and give an explanation for the raid and the arrests. Instead,
let me tell you something. Some of these dudes would do this for free. They'll do it for free because it's just in their makeup or how they are. They enjoy this, being brutal and being able to just throw people around no matter what their age. Going into schools, frightening children, throwing elders down to the ground, pregnant women down to the ground. They love it because they're barbaric. They are barbaric, evil-ass people, and they don't mind doing it. And they were sent there by a barbaric, evil-ass person. But they want us to feel sorry for somebody who was shot down in D.C. When Donald Trump, he's the one who put them in harm's way, if it even happened. I'm real skeptical about if it even happened. But they was put there by Donald Trump. He put them in harm's way with no police training. They don't know case law. They don't know municipal law. They don't know any of that. They don't know penal codes. They're not cops. They was a pseudo law enforcement function put in D.C. All that shit pseudo. He sent them there to do jobs that they're not capable of doing. And he put them in harm's way. So he wants to place the blame game and put it on Biden, because Biden allowed people to come over here. But the man got asylum during your administration a few months ago. Your administration gave him asylum, if that's what happened. So if you want to play the blame game, look in the mirror and blame your own ugly ass self.
Agents literally ran roughshod over the employees and knocked Rafi Shuhad to the ground, not just once, but twice. The lawsuit is strong and that the federal government would be wise to settle. Because never mind ICE trampling on Mr. Shuhad's civil rights and inflicting physical and emotional damage, the lawsuit, if it keeps going, will eventually go in front of a Los Angeles jury. Citizens in LA have repeatedly demonstrated and expressed their disgust with ICE. And in any lawsuit, there's always the possibility that a jury punishes the government even more than a defendant is seeking. Throwing a 79-year-old man to the ground, breaking his ribs, and having it all caught on surveillance camera is never a good look for any agency, especially Donald Trump's immigration and customs. In New York City, that woman is exercising her First Amendment rights and giving ICE agents verbal hell.
That's why I said like you and your wife is you. My face said hell. I'm American, you stupid bitch.
I'm American, you stupid. Your kids don't like you, and your wife is on you. We've done a lot of videos on resistance to ICE. The woman in this video stands out. Independent journalist Sandy Bashan has been covering New York City Immigration Court for months, recorded the woman in a courthouse hallway. Moments earlier, the woman and her family appeared as scheduled for an immigration hearing. Then, ICE agents swooped in and grabbed her relative. The woman asked agents, "What are you doing?"
You can go to jail for that.
For what?
What's going on here?
I didn't touch you.
What's going on? What are you guys doing?
Yes, she do. She does too.
Look at these cowards. Most of them are covering their faces because they're cowards. See, they're covering their face, but the young brother, Elijah McClain, was shot with a lethal dosage. I forgot what it was that the paramedics shot him with. Somebody called the cops. Some Hispanic dude was looking out the window, seeing him walking, coming out the store, just walking home. The police pulled up on him for nothing. All he wanted to do was go home. They seen him with his shopping bag in his hands. He went and got some snacks and was going home. And the police accosted him, called the paramedics, you know, trying to classify him like they're experts in like they're experts in I'm having a brain freeze in the medical field. And they called the paramedics, and the paramedics came there not knowing what was going on and excited to be actually doing on a call with the police. And they shot the brother with something, and they killed the brother. They killed the young brother. Elijah McClain, because he had a mask on, was stopped. But these guys walking around here as law enforcement, and they're supposed to identify themselves. They're supposed to identify themselves. They're not supposed to walk around with masks on. That's why they're mad in California, because California, they outlawed police wearing masks. If you want to be out here doing that, you got to show your face. That's why I don't get how police can pull you over for your tent being too dark because they can't see inside your vehicle. But they have the darkest tent. They have what they call police tent when there shouldn't be no such thing as police tent. We should be able to see inside their vehicles also, whether it's marked or unmarked. We should be able to see inside their vehicles. because especially with the distrust that they have gained for being untrustworthy in our communities, we should be able to see inside of their vehicles in the event that they do something nefarious, and we can point that bastard out.
You gotta come back to court. What's wrong with you guys?
Let me just get a paperwork. We just trying to confirm.
So back up, at least give him space. You could do what you do, but just give him space.
We're trying to give him space.
I can't.
Family members gave ICE agents the man's paperwork.
What's wrong with you guys?
I didn't do anything, man. All right, so don't get the same by immigration.
Why? Tell him why. I can't hear him.
Yeah, my brother, my family, JJ. Yeah, New Mexico was different. They're different with their racism. All of them, they see one of us there, bro. And some of those cats there from those Mexicans in New Mexico, they align themselves with who they perceive as winning. And it's not us. They're not Michael Jordan making their team a winning team. They come here to join the winning team, who they see as winning. That's what they do. And if you're as pale as them, they're gonna try to pass as them, bro. You can have the darkest damn Mexican. They're gonna try to pass as white. They don't give a damn about us.
The agents then took the man away, and the woman exercised her free speech rights at the ICE entourage.
That's why y'all are a bunch of criminals. I wish you would. I wish the yes, the y'all a bunch of big. Don't tell me calm down. You don't like none of you.
You okay?
No, how can I be okay? You okay? Are you okay?
Are you okay?
I look like I'm okay? Don't come up in my face here because I hit hard.
Try it.
I wish you would.
Try it.
You try me and see what the fuck angry. All of us angry out here. So don't think it's y'all alone. You who you telling get out of here? Why you telling me get out of here? You ask me.
And what's crazy about that, you see a bunch of immigrants working for immigration, snatching up and detaining other immigrants. And then most of them are immigrants who are working for immigration.
And I'm answering you.
Man.
What's wrong with you? Oh, stupid ass. Why you gotta hide your face?
You wanna go to jail?
You told me my mother I can tell you anything.
You wanna go to jail?
You wanna hit me? Hit me, bitch. You ain't got me. Nobody's scared of you. Come. I got rings on, bitch. So me and you gonna fight. You pussy. You a pussy. That's why your kids them don't like you. And your wife is you. That's why you gotta hide your face. My face ain't hidden, bitch. I'm American, you stupid bitch. With y'all. You can take me too high. I'm sure of the Zodiac friends. You know what to do? Tell them, no. You want me? With y'all, fuck off. Put that on the news. Let Trump see it.
Put that on the news. Let Trump see it. Well, I hope Trump is watching, because that woman speaks for most of us. She called out the federal ICE agents for wearing masks, trampling on constitutional rights, talking down to people, and pretending to be strong. But as that woman knows, and so many of us have realized, the people who work for ICE and hide their faces are not strong.
Yes, sir, my brother JJ. And when it's thrown out the window, whoever's down there, who's one of us, should just step on it, because it's nothing. Now, our people honored that black and brown so-called coalition. We honored it. But they delineated from us first, but they have a problem with us delineating. I used to think that way, that black and brown coalition. I used to think that way. I've been shown that it's garbage, and we're the only ones who honored that black and brown coalition. So scrap that foolishness.
They are weak, pathetic jackasses. Many of the ICE agents are former January 6th MAGA rioters, Proud Boys, and other assorted Trump lunatics. And as we've seen repeatedly, countless ICE agents think that a badge, a gun, and a DHS paycheck gives them the authority to throw out the Constitution and treat people they don't like, especially brown people, like garbage. The New York Immigration Court has seen several incidents involving unhinged ICE agents. A few weeks ago, ICE attacked a man after he, his wife, and children appeared as scheduled for a status hearing. The agents, in front of the man's kids, wrenched him away.
No, suelta la niña, 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 suelta la niña.
I'm saying, I see a lot of them saying that we should come together and using that kumbaya, you know, singing that song. And my sentiment is they haven't proved themselves trustworthy. And if there is to be something like that, they will have to initiate it. They will have to prove themselves trustworthy. They will have to do something, not say it. They will have to do something to prove themselves trustworthy in order for me, myself personally, to trust them. But given that trust based on some fancy talk and some, you know, I just can't trust it because they've proved themselves untrustworthy to be aligned with us, because that's all it was. There was no camaraderie. It's just an alignment. Nah, I don't need nobody singing with me. And this is a theater also, you know, taking all this and they making it a theater because it's all caught on film. All caught on film. See, one thing that we need to understand about Donald Trump is about perception and how he look. He wants to look like this dictator. He wants to look like this you know, this dictator like Russia, like South Korea, North Korea, Japan, China, which is why he had the parade on his birthday, you know, had soldiers out. He intertwined his birthday with the 250th anniversary of the military, and he tried to have them march down the street on his birthday. And you seen the parade they gave him. They did it reluctantly, and they just walked down the street. They didn't march sharp with their knees up like the other soldiers do in these other countries. If you see how these other soldiers march down the street when they have their parades and the militaries are involved, these cats are sharp. They gave Donald Trump the parade that he deserved.
A moment later, back in the courthouse hallway, the man's wife asked for an explanation. The officer said adios or goodbye and then shoved her.
I tell you, these white boys love this shit. White boys love this shit because it reminds them of something. They love this, even if it's falsehood, but it reminds them of something, and they will love to perpetuate and perpetrate what this reminds them of.
You can see the stunned and horrified children.
We also have to understand that a lot of these ICE agents don't even know what these people are saying. They know that they're in distress by their actions and their facial expressions, but they don't even understand what they're saying. And they don't even care about the pain that they're inflicting on people. But I'm going to say some of our people actually rock with this, as if Donald Trump is not going to circle around to our people. I don't care what these Negroes, these smart Negroes say, talking about this land is our land and all this other nonsense. You can't tell these damn Caucasians that. They don't give a damn how much scholarship you have. They don't give a damn about your damn scholarship and what you can prove. They're going to say, okay, who going to make me respect that? That's the truth, what you're saying. But who going to make me respect that shit? That's what I'm talking about. It's going to take some power and refinement to make these people respect us. Not no damn scholarship and no pieces of paper.
The agent who pushed the woman has since been fired, but the entire system under Trump breeds corruption and law enforcement violence. And so a lot of Americans are angry. What passes for immigration policy in this administration is not policy at all. It is not law enforcement nor the sober execution of national interests. It is a spectacle, a cruel, howling travesty designed for the delight of a mob that has been trained to mistake sadism for patriotism. We are no longer a nation of laws. We are a nation of raids. Across the United States, in the dead of night or under the glare of day, government agents now descend on homes, schools, courthouses.
Do you know when in 1960, I believe it was 67 to 68, Dr. King went to Lyndon Baines Johnson's with the same argument that we argue today. Dr. King went to Lyndon Baines Johnson with that. And Lyndon Baines Johnson acknowledged it. He acknowledged it. He said all of what Dr. King brought to him about our lineage in America and what we should be receiving. Dr. King went to Lyndon Baines Johnson with that. You know what Lyndon Baines Johnson said to Dr. King? He said, I know, but who's going to make me do it? That was his answer. Who's going to make me do it? And it stands today. Who's going to make them do it? Stands today.
Dragging mothers from children, cuffing fathers in front of their terrified sons and daughters, scooping up the unlucky from sidewalks and factories like stray dogs bound for the pound. There's no warrant, no hearing, no hint of due process, only the knock on the door, the barked command, the van waiting outside like a hearse for the American dream. Our founding fathers would have vomited at such spectacles. Those men, flawed and contradictory though they
No, they wouldn't. Now, this part right here, you can miss me with, because the founding fathers, they was the same way. It's just as a different time. That's all.
were designed a system of checks and balances precisely to prevent the kind of tyranny that now masquerades as toughness. But Donald Trump has no use for such constraints. His mind, a vast and echoing void wherein facts go to die, perceives dissent as treason and cruelty as a virtue. He and Stephen Miller tweet live.
I want to move on from there and go to New York, where the corruption continues. East Coast to West Coast.
Body camera footage obtained by The Intercept shows a Staten Island police officer apparently planting marijuana in a car during a traffic stop. The incident comes just a few weeks after a similar one, originally reported by the New York Times, in which the same cop was again caught by his body camera in the apparent act of planting marijuana in a car.
Yo, he put something in my car, yo.
They don't even care. He has his body camera on, planting drugs, not drugs, marijuana. It's not even drugs. Marijuana in somebody's car. This is 2018, mind you, before marijuana was made legal. But he's seen planting it in someone's car. This is racist ass Staten Island. NYPD, but that borough, Staten Island.
All right, this was in the back seat on the floor. So marijuana cigarette, it's lit.
In the more recent incident, two officers pulled over passenger Jason Serrano and a friend for a broken taillight. As the officers approached the car and the driver rolled down the window, the officers claimed the car smelled like weed and ordered both people out of the car.
The car smells like marijuana, so we're going to check it. All right.
Okay, and then what?
There was nothing, but that's a excuse they use to search your vehicle. I remember back in the 90s where some athletes were stopped on the New Jersey Turnpike on their way to school. They were traveling to go to school down south, but they were stopped on the New Jersey Turnpike. This was during Christy Todd Whitman's administration as governor of New Jersey. They were stopped on the New Jersey Turnpike and they were racially profiled. And that's where the term came from. It was originated in New Jersey, racial profiling. That's where the term was coined in New Jersey back in the 90s. They were stopped. They were athletes. They were traveling down south to go to school. A few of them got injured by the New Jersey state troopers. The superintendent was fired because he said that if you want to find marijuana, you got to look, the Jamaicans got that. They just stereotype Hispanics. They got the cocaine and, just stereotype people based on, putting drugs on them. And he was fired. And if you look at the people in this car, they used the smell of marijuana as a probable cause to search the vehicle. And then they planted the marijuana inside the car.
None in the car, you'll be good to go. All right?
Serrano was to reveal his wound to one of the officers.
I don't want to see that right now. Okay.
I could barely move.
Once out of the car, the officers demand to search Serrano's jacket, and he refuses.
Do me a favor. Give me the jacket.
There's nothing.
If he refuses, and they search the car anyway without a warrant, everything is inadmissible. You can't search somebody's car because you want to. If they refuse and you search anyway, everything you find is inadmissible, minus a warrant, because you can't just use. You have to have reasonable, articulable suspicion. That means you got to articulate your suspicion. And a smell, just saying you smell marijuana is not good enough.
In my jacket, I'm not getting searched for no reason.
As Serrano grows agitated, the officers become more aggressive.
Come on, relax.
Relax.
They grab him, push him to the ground, and handcuff him.
Take him down. Take him down. Relax.
Serrano remains on the ground, handcuffed and in visible pain for the rest of the traffic stop, until an ambulance arrives to take him to the hospital.
Can someone call an ambulance?
The two officers, Kyle and his jacket. Officer Erickson begins searching the car. He searches the passenger side area first. When he finds nothing, he can be heard murmuring an expletive. Erickson returns to Pastrana to ask.
Should I search the whole thing? Or search the whole thing?
He returns to the passenger side and searches through Serrano's jacket, the cup holder, and the central console. As he continues searching the rest of the car, the driver approaches.
I come out here and search my car. Like, what is he doing?
Stand back.
Why? What are you doing?
Erickson looks back at Pastrana, visibly agitated.
See nothing. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After several minutes searching the car, Erickson again admits that he hasn't found anything.
Nothing? I don't see anything.
Say he don't see anything, but he's going to plant it.
15 seconds later, Erickson returns to the front seat cup holder and sets something down.
It's a little bit of weed. It's a little bit of weed.
Erickson continues searching through the center console, where he's already looked. he again sounds agitated. Erickson shakes his head as he continues fiddling through Serrano's jacket, just out of the camera's view. A couple minutes later, the two officers say they found weed.
You could say is he good? Good?
The officers then fist bump each other. The few words exchanged between the two officers during the search are almost identical to those.
This is what I mean by artificial intelligence, trumped up charges. This is what I mean. They've been using AI, except their intelligence is manufactured and artificial.
They exchanged during the search just a few weeks earlier.
Yeah. We gotta find. You know what I mean?
On that occasion, too, the search had ended with Erickson asking Pastran.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ambulance finally arrives to pick up Serrano. He spends the next 5 days handcuffed in a hospital room, waiting for his abdominal wound to close. Serrano took a...
Indeed, David M., especially when he said negative, you know, when he first searched it. Like, they're going to leave that in plain sight. The amount of stupidity, the level of stupidity when it comes to who they hire as police officers.
Plea deal to avoid jail time and didn't learn of this body cam's footage existence until after he pleaded guilty. The video information available not just to the public but also defendants invalidates criticism by police accountability advocates that body cameras are of little use if the evidence they captured remains inaccessible. The ME declined to comment on this incident.
A little bit of weed.
Erickson and Pastran remain on patrol.
These two remain on patrol, still doing this, more than likely still doing this to people. Now, once they found this, now see this right here, you know, destroys the credibility of the rank and file in internal affairs. Once they found this, whether or not the man, you know, pleaded guilty of not, they should be in trouble, internally. This should be an internal investigation. They should be fired for planting drugs on somebody, regardless if the man pleaded guilty or not. You planted the drugs. Some people don't have the resources to put up the fight. And a public defender, a court-appointed attorney, all they do is get you to plead in any damn way. And that's what he probably had a court-appointed attorney who got him to plead. And that's where he's at today. But once they found that the drugs were planted and they didn't see fit, well, you know, it's typical New York, though. Typical New York.
There's nothing to say. The video speaks for itself. I didn't have no marijuana. I didn't have no weed. I didn't have no drugs. I wasn't. The tail light wasn't broke. They had no reason to at all. Besides harassment.
Yeah, that's the main case scenario with Now I'm going to go to another example. This is going down to Florida.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts.
A filthy, fired Florida sheriff's deputy has been sentenced to 12 years in prison. This is after he was straight busted for planting drugs on dozens of people, ruining lives so he could advance in the department. And there was no discrimination. He targeted blacks and whites to beef up his sleazy-ass arrest numbers. Now, to help this sink in for you at home, imagine your grandmother, Nana.
It's just like a brother to tell it like we would tell it, even though he's on the news.
Dia, whatever you call that lovable matriarch in your family, imagine her being pulled over and arrested for drugs by a cop. This is what this talking turd did to one woman. He set grandma up. Let's get right into it. And joining us here on The Factor Uncensored now is Charles Adams, former attorney, former judge, and talk show host. Charles, this should piss everyone off that a man who has been empowered to uphold the law, to help the people, has been out there harming the people, planting drugs on individuals. Now, first of all, before we get into his punishment, how was he caught, this deputy in Florida?
Yeah, well, this exemplifies two of my major long-term concerns with the war on drugs, right? One, its disparate impact, and two, the creation of felons. Even if people actually had drugs in a possession, just a user amount, it takes a regular person and turns them into a felon. It was even worse here, right? And by regular person, I mean someone not out trying to harm other people or injure other people or steal from other people. What's worse here is he took regular people who weren't drug users and turned them into felons. Also, the disparate impact. I hate to suggest this, but it is my fear that it was his decision to plant drugs on middle-class white people that's actually what led to the investigation that ended up with his arrest and charges and then conviction.
And he had two drugs of choice there, Charles. Likely the marijuana for the blacks and the meth for the whites.
Right.
Which is just mind-blowing, and he got a grandmother caught up into this who had no
and she
record.
actually gave a statement at his sentencing talking about how it stripped her of access to both her daughter and her grandchild for 2 years of her life. She had pled to a lengthy probation on pressure from an attorney, that ultimately there was a video that captured him planting the drugs. So I've got to question the efficacy of the counsel she received, but at the end of the day, this exemplifies why we need cameras on all officers interacting with citizens on patrol and why we need to end this war on drugs. The drugs that he planted on people were found by investigators ready to plant in his car. 119 cases were dismissed. He actually testified, he had the temerity to give testimony during his trial denying that he did anything wrong. And then after he was convicted, his wife got on the stand and talked about the loss of a career for him and how she might not ever recover. And then his friends, a great number of friends and family, got on the stand and talked about what a man of God he was and what an asset to the community was and how the community needed more men like him. He's a man that went out in this world and destroyed people's lives.
What was his end game, Charles? Why did he do it? Was he just a sick idiot?
Well, there was a suggestion in trial. There was a suggestion in trial that he was doing it.
He was evil and overzealous. He wanted to be on a task force, a drug task force, and he was a patrolman wanting to be on a task force. And the fact that he did all these busts, perhaps he would have been recruited to be on a drug task force. That's where he wanted. That was his aspirations.
In an effort to become a member of an elite narcotics task force with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department there in Florida. That this was basically his way to apply for a better job because he was making all these busts and arrests. And I will commend the judge. Florida has a far more structured sentencing guideline than we do here in Texas, where whether you go to the judge or you go to the jury, they have the entire punishment range to make whatever decision they want. Whereas in Florida, the judge has guidelines, but the guideline said 5 years. He was convicted of 19 charges out of, I believe, 60 or so, and the guidelines were 5 years, but the judge said absolutely not. The judge put him in prison for 12 years because of his violation of the trust of the public and his destruction of so many lives. And the question, how do you get it back? How do you get those 2 years of your life or 3 years?
I covered this also, the trial, and he sat there and denied everything. Even this was make some a narcissist. Even if it was shown on camera, I think he was singing a Christmas song while he was planting it, putting the gloves on and straight up planting the drugs in the lady's car. He did it a lot of times. And this time his own body camera caught it. And when that body cam footage came out, he did this to himself though, but he ruined a lot of lives. And I think 12 years wasn't even good enough. He should have did at least 25 years. for what he did to those people.
Years of your life or 4 years of your life, you can't. And so hopefully, and I can't imagine, and I don't think people should suffer in prison. And I think prison is all the suffering they have. But I can't imagine this person will do good time.
I hope he don't.
To ending the war on drugs and make police focus on real policing, which is going against thieves and victimizers and people that assault and kill and hurt people, because police need to get out of the prohibition business.
Yeah, and Charles, it reminds me of the Gerald Goins case here in Houston,
right.
You know, where 2 people are now dead for a little overtime. Extra overtime. And you see the motivation behind these.
We don't know how many Americans are incarcerated for this, where the cops got away with it.
We just don't know how many out there have been.
I want to thank everybody for joining me this afternoon. You know, in this presentation of Corrupt to the Core, things never change. I thank everybody for joining me. I appreciate your feedback, your comments. And I'm going to land this right here. And before I go, I just want to say, if you haven't gotten your copies of my wife's book, Fire, Book 2, the finale, and the original book, Fire, go to Amazon. Pardon me a second. This is playing. Pardon me 1 second. Yes, I want to thank everybody for joining me this evening, or this afternoon, rather. If you haven't gotten your copy of Fire, Book 2, the finale, and the original copy of Fire, go to Amazon, go to Books, Angela King James, get your copies of Fire, Book 2, and Fire at Amazon on paperback.
Get your copy of Fire. It's definitely a must-read. If you enjoy hood books, this one is it. Just like the title of the book, it's officially Fire. Get it on Amazon, paperback or Kindle.
I don't know how I got here. I just know I'm never going back. Just when I thought things were already crazy, it gets worse.
I'm back.
Quan?
Sapphire struggles to deal with her husband's alleged betrayal and coming to terms with Quan being alive after thinking he was deceased. Devante tries to keep a level head while dealing with family issues and unexpected disloyalty. Memories of Dre enters Devante's life in a way that he would have never imagined.
Fire Part 2, the finale.
Again, thank everybody for joining me. Thanks for your participation, your feedback, your information. Until next time, this is The Enemy's Public. I am Bro.Nasir. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Peace.
Yeah.